Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, entitled The Summon Bonum. We're starting a new chapter today, chapter number 6, which is entitled The Killing of the Demon Putana. I read Srila Prabhupada's summary, and then today we're covering verse 1 and 2. A summary of the 6th chapter is as follows. When Nanda Maharaj, following the instructions of Vasudeva, was returning home, he saw a great demoniac woman lying on the road, and the earth about her, and then he heard about her death. While Nanda Maharaj, the king of Raja, was thinking about Vasudeva's words concerning disturbances in Gokula, he was a little afraid and sought shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Hari. Meanwhile, Kamsa sent to the village of Gokula a Rakshasi named Putana, who was wandering here and there, killing small babies. Of course, wherever there is no Krishna consciousness, there is danger of such Rakshasis. But since the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself was in Gokula, Putana could expect nothing there but her own death. One day, Putana arrived from the outer space in Gokula, the home of Nanda Maharaj, and by displaying her mystic powers, she assumed the disguise of a very beautiful woman. Taking courage, she immediately entered Krishna's bedroom without anyone's permission. By the grace of Krishna, no one forbade her to enter the house or the room, because that was Krishna's desire. The baby Krishna, who resembled a fire covered by ashes, looked upon Putana and thought that he will have to kill this demon, a beautiful woman. Enchanted by the influence of Yogamaya and the personality of Godhead, Putana took Krishna upon her lap, and neither Rohini or Jasoda objected. The demon Putana offered her breast to Krishna to suck, but her breast was smeared with poison. The child Krishna therefore squeezed Putana's breast so severely that in unbearable pain she had to assume the original body and fell to the ground. Her original body and fell to the ground. Then Krishna began playing on her breast just like a small child. When Krishna was playing, the gopis were pacified and took the child away from took the child away to their own laps. After this incident, the gopis took precautions because of the attack of the Rakshasi. Mother Yasoda gave the child her breast to suck and then laid him in bed. Meanwhile, Nanda and his associates, the cowherd men, returned from Mathura. And when they saw the great dead body of Putana, they were struck with wonder. Everyone was astonished that Vasudeva had foretold this mishap, and they praised Vasudeva for his power of foresight. The inhabitants of Braja cut the gigantic body of Putana into pieces, but because Krishna has sucked her breast, she has been free from all sins, and therefore, when the cowherd man burned the pieces of her body in a fire, the smoke filled the air with a very pleasing fragrance. Ultimately, although Putana has desired to kill Krishna, she obtained the Lord's abode. From this incident, we gain the instruction that if one is attached to Krishna somehow or other, even as an enemy, one ultimately obtains success. What then is to be said of the devotees who are naturally attached to Krishna in love? When the inhabitants of Braja heard about the killing of Putana and the welfare of the child, they were very much satisfied. Nanda Maharaj took the baby Krishna on his lap and was filled with affection. Text number 1, we chant together. Shri Shuka Uvacha Nandapati Bacha Saurer Namrisheti Vichintayam Harinjagama Saranam Utpatagama Sankita. Sri Sukha Uvacha Nandapati Bacha Saurer Namrisheti Vichintayam Harinjagama Saranam Utpatagama Sankita. Sri Sukha Uvacha Nandapati Bacha Saurer Namriseti Vichintayam Harinjagama Saranam Utpatagama Sankita. Please chant. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Nanda Maharaj, Pati, on his way back home, Bachaha, the words, Saurehe, of Vasudeva, Na, not, Mrisha, without purpose or cause, Iti, thus, Vichintayam, while thinking about inauspiciousness for his little son Krishna, Harim, unto the Supreme Lord, the Controller, Jagama, took, Sharanam, shelter, Utpata, of disturbances, Agama, without the expectation, Sankitaha, thus being afraid. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sukadev Goswami continued, My dear king, While Nanda Maharaj went on the way home, he considered that what Vasudev has said could not be false or useless. There must have been some danger of disturbance in Gokula. As Nanda Maharaj thought about the danger for his beautiful son Krishna, he was afraid and took shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Controller. Purport. Whenever there is danger, the pure devotee thinks of the protection and shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also advised in the Bhagavad Gita 9:33. Anityam ashkam lokam imam prapya bhajashvamam. In this material world, there is danger at every step. Padam padam yad vipadam. Therefore, a devotee has no other recourse than to take shelter of the Lord at every step. Text number 2. Kamsena prahita gora putana balaghatini shishunchacharanik nanti puragrama brajadishu. Translation. While Nanda Maharaj was returning to Gokula, some fierce Putana, the same fierce Putana whom Kamsa has previously engaged to kill babies, was wandering about in the towns, cities and villages, doing her nefarious duty. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhagavatam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Satarine. Vanchakalpa Taruvyasha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. I like to start by saying that we're supposed to have a variety of speakers, but these days seems that I have to fill so it's not the Subal morning show. Don't take it like that. I prefer to be sitting listening, but you bear with me. So we're going to be hearing about the killing of Putana witch. And a little bit of the story of Putana is that she was in previous life the daughter of Bali Maharaj. Her name was, anyone remember her name? I got a blank in my head. I can't remember her name. But she was the daughter of Bali Maharaj. We know the story. We hear some time ago the past tense of Lord Vamanadev appearance into the world, and the dealings of Vamanadev with, you found it? Ratnamala, that's right, Ratnamala. The dealings of Vamanadev, the Supreme Lord, with his pure devotee, Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj was the king of the demons. He was the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, so in the lineage of Hiranyakashipu. So he was the king of the Daitas, very powerful. So we hear how he conquered the whole universe. But being the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj and being under the protection of Prahlad Maharaj, he was a pure devotee. In fact, among the foremost authorities, the 12 Mahajans in knowledge of the absolute truth, he is one of them. He is considered one of them, along with Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj. Which is quite remarkable because here is the king of the demons, the king of the Dayatas, being, a great recognized devotee. And that's going to be part of the theme of something that I'd like to discuss, in the context of Srila Prabhupada's purport. So, when Vamanadev appeared with the purpose of taking away everything from Bali Maharaj and return all the kingdom of the world, the kingdom of heaven, to the demigods. When Vamanadev appeared into the sacrifice that was being performed by Bali Maharaj, the great sacrifice, he was so beautiful that Ratnamala became very attractive. When she saw Vamanadev, she immediately felt, Vamanadev was a dwarf, so he was like a child, and extremely beautiful. So he arised in her this motherly affection. So she immediately desired from within the heart that she wanted to feed Vamanadev with her milk. She wanted him as a son. And her desire was very sincere and very strong, and from within her heart, the Lord blessed her and said that he will fulfill her desire. But later, when she saw, after the whole pastime unfolded, and she saw Vamanadev tying Maharaj Bali with ropes and taking him and basically humiliating him, and she desired to kill Vamanadev. So that desire also to try to execute that desire was also fulfilled by the Lord. So in her next verse, she took birth as this witch, Putana. The word Putana, Put means virtuous, and Na, Put Na means no virtue, no virtues. So very sinful, absolutely no virtue. And there's another translation for the word Putana that is putrefact. So her business was the favorite activity that she had was to kill babies and to consume them. So that was her main thing. And it is explained that she was that type of witch that fly in a piece of wood. So the classical scary picture that we have of witches flying in a broom. She flied in a piece of wood. So that's where the original witch with the nose and the thing and the hat. So Putana at the end received the opportunity to feed Krishna with her milk, and at the same attempt to kill Krishna. But in the process, she became fully purified and obtained the position of being one of the mothers of Krishna. in the spiritual world. In one sense, Lord Nrsingadev promised Prahlad Maharaj that many generations of his descendants will be protected by him. And we see how Bali Maharaj, Ratnamala, even, in the next birth as Putana, she still received the protection. So, Prabhupada brings out this very beautiful part of the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, in which he explains how the devotees naturally take shelter of the personality of Godhead in all circumstances. And when there is danger, they naturally take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. And what happens when one takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord? Then automatically one is free from all kinds of tribulations and anxieties. And one is perfectly protected. So, the context in which this verse is given is when the Lord is explaining about how he is pretty amazing, this part of the Bhagavad Gita, the 9th chapter especially, because Krishna gives entrance to everybody who reads the Bhagavad Gita to his personal feelings and his heart, which in any book of Revelation that is out there, there's nothing that comes even close to this. Because here's now is not talking about a third person, the Father, who is some way out there, just like passing some judgment or making sure that things are ordered, the supreme controller. But right here is that we're going into the intimacy of God's personal feelings, and He's revealing that. He's revealing His heart, and how He feels towards His devotee. He explains that the devotee is always thinking of Him, and He's always thinking of His devotee. He explains that He is always in the heart of the devotees, and the devotee is always in His heart. And then He says that even is the devotee, when he's in the context of this part, he goes as far as, even if my devotee commits an abominable act, he still should be considered saintly. Because he qualifies it, because he's fixed in my devotional service. And very soon, everything will be perfectly in place. So even when my devotee makes a mistake, or by circumstances fall down, he will still be protected by me. You can declare it boldly. My devotees will never perish. And then he says that it doesn't matter who takes shelters of me. This is open to everyone. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter of me, though they be of a lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and Sudras, can obtain the supreme destination. So, even if one is not qualified by birth, that even if one's capacity, one is not necessarily philosophically inclined or not, it doesn't matter what circumstance you are. If you take shelter of the Lord, then you'll be protected. And then the verse that Prabhupada quotes, 33, Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajar sajas tatha anityan ashukam lokam imam prapya bhajashamam. How much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. So, anyone can take shelter of the Lord, even if you are completely unqualified, and the Lord will give protection. So what to speak of pious brahmanas, saintly persons, and saintly kings? So they're always under their protection, under the Lord's protection. And the character of those who are pious, the brahmanas, the saintly persons, the saintly kings, is that their faith is very strong and unflinching. And regardless of the circumstance, they always know. They always see the Lord's hand in all circumstances. So they automatically, they seek for the Lord's shelter. Remember, there was this nice story, biblical story. You know, I grew up in this Catholic culture, and there was the story of the book of John. Not John, the book of Job. It's like J-O-B. John, not John, but Job. And the story says, in a nutshell, I sort of remember. The story is that he was like a very righteous devotee of the Lord. He was pious, he was honest, so a good devotee, really good devotee. He would do his sacrifice, he would perform all his duties, like that. And he was always praising the Lord. And in the kingdom of God, there was apparently the meeting of God with his angels, and among his angels was Satan. Satan was one of God's angels, and supposedly is a fallen angel at one point. Which in one sense we understand, that, indeed, Satan he have a job. What they call, in our tradition, it's more or less similar to the job of Maya. So, but I don't want to speculate too much on that, but sort of some similarity. So Satan, it was in this meeting, and then God praises Job. See how my wonderful devotee Job is doing. He is always praising me, he's always remembering me, he's always doing his offering. Satan, he raised up this thing. Well, why he won't be always remembering you when you're giving everything and you provide everything for him? I bet, I'm thinking that, what about if you take everything away from him? He will probably curse you. And then God says that no, he will remain steadfast. And Satan doubts. He say, well, why don't we try? And then God gave permission to Satan to ruin Job's life. But told him, don't harm him. Do everything but don't harm him. Satan. So what he did is he killed all his sons. He killed all his wealth, his livestock, and basically ruined him. And Job, in great anguish, he shaved himself, he had, the beard and the whole thing, and, with tears in his eyes, suffering so much, he said that just as God gives us everything, he can take everything away. And that is, but, at that point, he will remain taking shelter of God. His faith was not broken. And then Satan questioned God. Well, I see, but I'm sure if you do something to him, he will break. So God gave permission for Satan to harm Job. So he became covered with this disease, that was covered with like worms and sores and all kinds of things, head to toe. And then families who were there, whatever friends who were there were seeing, they were pressuring him. Something you have most likely committed some sinful activity. Because otherwise, why are you suffering like this? And Job said, no, I haven't done anything. So then the question is, how can you believe in God? How can we believe in a God that is not just? So if you're receiving punishment and you haven't done anything wrong, how can you believe in God? How can we believe in God? So there's a question of, when this calamities comes, how can we accept that God is there? The classical question that is raised in different faiths of why bad things happen to good people. Why is God allowing that? So it questions, God's goodness or God's power. And that's a question that has break the faith of many people. And at best, it compromises the faith that people have in God. It becomes, a very vulnerable faith. Because the whole thing is that God is all-powerful and all-good. But if bad things happen to good people, you can have both of them together. That's irrational. So if God, the bad things, according to the Judeo-Christian world, bad things happens because of Satan. Good things happens because of God. So supposedly those who are not believers or those who are not under the shelter of God, then they come under the influence of Satan. And, they receive the sinful reactions of turning their back towards God, on God. But the bewildering thing comes when things happen to people of God. Bad things happen. That he appears to be unjust. Why is not God protecting me? So then either he is all good, but not all powerful, because there's another power that is competing with him, the power of evil, Satan, and they're equal powers that are sort of struggling for the people of the world, having this struggle of control. The other one is that if he is all powerful and he allows this unjust thing to happen, then he is not all good. There's something wrong. So that one people can take. No. God cannot be wicked. God means all good. So he is all good, but he's not all powerful. And that defies the definition of God. So it compromises faith. So it's a huge thing to properly understand. So you require to have a much deeper understanding of reality, of transcendence, of transcendental knowledge. And but the fact is that the devotees always understand because they have transcendental knowledge. So Job was able to pass the test. Although he's being questioned, he explains that, that his faith didn't break. I can't remember what was the explanation, but the conclusion was he passed the test. His faith didn't break because he had proper shelter of the Lord. Basically is the principle: as he gives, he takes. But when you have a sense of an eternal relationship, then you understand very well. The answer of how things happen to bad people have to do with the process that God's used to actually help us regain our spiritual consciousness. So it expands through many lives. So the arrangements that Krishna has for this whole world is to help us regain that. So he uses everything that we have to experience is geared for that, is designed for that, for purification. So we have the laws of karma that are designed to help us purify. The laws of karma, which is simply a natural method of education that has always been there, of punishments and rewards. So by punishment and rewards, we come to understand. We come to learn our lessons. But it spans through many lives. It becomes bewildering when we see only one life, and that's the problem of people of faith that lack transcendental knowledge. So, taking shelter of the Lord regardless one's qualification is the answer. And for taking shelter of the Lord, one have, and the only method of taking shelter of the Lord is taking shelter of a devotee of the Lord. The Bhagavatam goes even further in terms of how those who take shelter of the Lord, regardless of qualification, can achieve, the ultimate destination. It's the famous verse of Kirata Unandara Pulinda Pulkasa Abira Shumba Javana Kashada Jaha Jinye Chapapa Jat Apasraja Sraja Sudyanti Tasmai Prabhabhishnave Namaha. Kirata Huna Andra Pulinda Pulkasha Abira Shumba Javana, members of the Kasha races, and even others addicted to sinful acts, can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, not just the Vedic, women's, Vaishyas and Sudras. I mean, these were within the civilized Vedic culture. But even outside Vedic culture, when you go to uncivilized races, if they take shelter of a devotee of the Lord, they can become perfectly purified. And then there's all these different races that I break down. That is the purport of that verse is fascinating, because these are races that are named in the Shastras. Specifically, they're being explained in the Mahabharata, and with also some predictions that some of these races will rule the world at certain points, and quite on point. The Kirata, the Aboriginal tribes of India, they're still there. The Huna are the races that are in Germany and Russia. Most of these races, some of them, they were started by Kshatriyas who in fear of Parshuram, they went to different parts of the world, and they abandoned Vedic culture. So they became outcasts, non-believers or non-followers of Vedic culture. The Andhra, they're still in India, the Andhra Pradesh, they're still there, so they're from South India. The Pulinda are the Greeks, and it is explained that they will actually rule the world at one point. The Abiras are sort of, how you say, the Arabs and all that area. Basically, the area of the how you call the Middle Eastern, and they will conquer the world. It is explained. We're Melechas, and among some of the great Abiras, Alexander the Great was there, and who conquered, a big part of the world, and India also. The Sumbas and Kansas, It doesn't explain, but the Javanas, they were Turks also, and very fascinating too is that the Javanas, they were descendants of one of the sons of King Jadu. So as the Yadavas were there, the Jadus, then these were the Javanas, were the descendants of one of the sons of King Jadu. King Jayati. So Jayati has several sons, when we remember. One of them was Jadu, and the other one was, what was, no, I got out the blank. But anyway, one of he had two sons, if you remember, that were not good. And one was Javana, and the other one was Turbashu. And these Javanas, who were the Turks, non-Vedic, Kshatriya type, they also were part of this cash. So like that, even races addicted to sinful acts. So talking about the Western world, and just by the association with a devotee, they can become perfectly purified. Just by taking shelter of the devotee. So this is the great example of Srila Prabhupada. That under his protection and under his shelter, so races that are addicted to sin, they can become purified devotees and being perfectly under the protection of the Lord. And naturally, one in all situations have the opportunity to approach life with constantly seeing the hand of Krishna on everything. Through happiness and distress, we see Krishna's mercy. And that's wonderful. That's, such an amazing gift that one can always see Krishna's hand. And you always go back to that. Maybe bewildered by happiness and distress, but at one point, one always comes back to, oh, Krishna's mercy, Krishna's mercy, like that. So that's the beauty of what we receive from the pure devotee of the Lord. Any comments or questions? Dr. Kevin.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for class. I was thinking about when you were describing how certain people might think, like, I try talking to God, why doesn't He reciprocate? I try praying, I try speaking to God. Maybe if they don't have proper spiritual knowledge or understanding on the etiquettes or spiritual injunction, like how to approach God and how to do spiritual practice. So they might be thinking, I'm speaking to God like every day. Why doesn't God come down and personally speak to me or reciprocate? And so it was making me think about this conversation I had with this one senior devotee one time. He was describing that Krishna consciousness is it's just not fast food religion, or it's not. There's certain other temples or other places where you can go and you'll see people putting donation money in the dish and taking darshan, then just leaving, and that's basically it. But he's saying that to understand God, like, Krishna doesn't take himself cheaply, so can't just expect, and it's not fast food process is what he was describing. So I just thought I'd comment on that.
Mm-hmm. It's Krishna consciousness is very deep, and in one sense, we understand that Krishna reciprocates accordingly with our faith, because it could be very simple. If you have a simple heart, very simple, then things are very natural. But it really depends on our heart, on our intent, and then Krishna reciprocates. That's my understanding. So someone can just come and offer a little leaf and water with love, something as simple as that, and as it's almost like irrelevant. But Krishna will accept because of the intent that the devotee had. And someone can come with something so elaborated. Remember the pastimes of Duryodhana and Vidura, no? Remember that? And when Krishna came to visit Hastinapuri as the Shantidut, or not Shantidut, what is it? The peace messenger. Duryodhana was trying to sway him, so he wanted to serve Krishna in order for some political purpose. So he arranged this huge reception for Krishna with, royal to the top. And Krishna basically saying, no, I'm going to Vidura's. It's the only place I can actually take a meal in this place. So he just knocked Vidura's, and then Vidura was surprised. Everybody assumed that Krishna was going to be with Duryodhana. And Vidura was so surprised, he was not prepared. Krishna had come to take some meal here. And then they didn't have anything prepared, so they have some fruit. So they were so overwhelmed by the love and the emotion of having Krishna that Vidura's wife, who was to offer the fruit to Krishna, she peeled the banana, and she was so absorbed in looking at Krishna's, lotus feet, that with tears in her eyes, she threw the banana and gave the peel to Krishna. And Krishna was so taken by her affection that with tears in his eyes, he started to eat the peel and was, enjoying the peel. And it took some time for the two, Vidura and the wife, to realize that Krishna was eating the banana peel. And they were horrified. But Krishna says, this is the most wonderful meal I have had. So it really depends on the devotee's heart. It can be very simple. It can be very elaborated, but it's according to the devotee's heart. So it's a beautiful thing, it's a beautiful gift that we receive. And as we grow and mature in Krishna consciousness, we come to understand and appreciate more the gift. Anything else? back to Alex.
Thank you, Subal Prabhu. I was curious, why did Prabhupada choose to give us all of these stories about like Krishna killing demons?
Well, Krishna says that the essence of transcendental knowledge is to understand the divinity or the transcendental nature of his activities and his appearance in this world. So, this, if we simply come to understand that, what is it? Jamma karma chame divyan even yo vedida tataha tyakta deham punanya man neti man eti sorjuna. That we don't have to come back. That's the essence of everything, to understand that. So Krishna book was, Prabhupada didn't know if he will actually be able to complete. He already suffered 2 heart attacks, actually 3 heart attacks at that point. So he didn't know how much longer he had. So he had to provide us with the 10th canto. But he put it in such a way that within the 10th canto, the Krishna book, is almost like the transcendental knowledge or the preparation that the other 9 cantos give to get to the 10th canto. Prabhupada put it in his purports. So it's important. It's the essence. This chapter is called the summon bonus. The summon bonus of everything. So, because it's at the heart of transcendental knowledge, is to understand the divine nature of Krishna's pastimes, how wonderful he is. So, there's something about hearing Krishna's pastime. How many times have you heard these pastimes in your Krishna consciousness? It's that we hear it and we hear it and we hear it and we hear it, and it is never, it's like always new, always exciting. It's like you never heard it before. It's like we know everything that's going to happen and still it's exciting. So it have that effect because it creates this natural attraction for the Lord, how powerful he is, how beautiful, how, and the inhabitants of Vrindavan in taking shelter of Krishna, how Krishna always, is there to protect. So it is very important. It's at the heart. It's what Krishna says in the Gita. So Prabhupada provided.
What does Putana mean again? The name?
No virtues.
Ah.
But also I read that it also translates as putrefact.
I'm hoping that if like demons such as Putana, Krishna saves them, that there's hope,
Yeah, well, Krishna saved this one. Well, actually, all the demons that are killed by Krishna, they receive liberation. So, that's part of what Prabhupada also said.
Thank you.
Anything else? Oh, Prakta Prabhu. We take this last question and then we finish.
Hare Krishna. Are the empowered demons in the material world Lord Krishna's devotee?
The empowered demons? Well, that's not necessary. No, these demons that are right now populating this world they're definitely not devotees. I mean, the ones who were devotees were like, the big time demons like Hiranyakashipu and Ravana and like that. They actually were devotees who were doing that service. But no, demons means that they're opposed to the personality of Godhead. That's my understanding. So, but if the demon by any chance come under in the association of a pure devotee, they're finished. They can change. So the Sankirtan movement is meant to change demons, Lord Chaitanya's movement. So the pastime of the deliverance of Jagaya and Madai is an example of that. How by the Sankirtan movement demons can be purified. And some of us were not necessarily, you know, had a bright past that, you know, that in one sense qualifies sometimes pretty demoniac, you know.
Has there ever been a time in Krishna's creation where demons did not exist?
The demons, I think they're always there. I think from the time of the creation, Lord Brahma, it says from Lord Brahma's behind came the demons. And so they're all, you know, they're there. We even hear during Satya Yuga, that is a time in which is perfectly pious. There were, you know, demons that appears and they disturb the whole thing. But yeah, it's just part of the material world. There's not, if there is no demons or there is no opposition, then we're talking about Vaikuntha, you know. That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Okay. Keep it short that we are past time, Keshava. Keep it short that we have.
Yeah. Short question.
Thank you, Subal. Throughout the entire Krishna's life, he kills several demons that after being killed were released of all his sinful lives and went directly to the heavenly planets. But I don't understand why if I drink coffee or my salad there's some onions or my soup is garlic, I will be in hell for the eternity. I don't understand.
No, you're not going to hell because of drinking coffee and taking garlic. You know, you're going to hell because of you know, breaking the law. I mean, like doing some gross sinful acts. You know, I mean, you're not going to jail by parking in the wrong space, right? You've been given a ticket, so you have to suffer some reaction. You go to jail if you rob someone or kill someone or do some more, how you say?
Proportionate to the
so if
offense.
If you eat garlic, you're going to smell like a garlic, you know, bag. You know, every time you open your mouth, it's it's offensive. You know, and if you drink coffee, it's the same thing. You know, you smell pretty bad. You know, so and what to speak of what happened to your inside. You know, your liver or whatever. You know, thing.
But not only how offensive the breath or the smell can be, is kind of like an offense. I'm not doing any good, not only for myself, but for Krishna or the institution.
Oh, the offensive part is not, I mean, it's not Krishna, oh my, I'm offended, I'm assuming that it's not like that, but the part is that these are foodstuff that enhances or agitates the mode of ignorance and passion. And in the mode of ignorance and passion, you can't really serve properly. You commit offenses, other type of offenses, mentally and, because it agitates the lower modes of nature. The idea is that the process of devotional service is to help us come to the mode of goodness. And in the mode of goodness is when you actually can have the proper psychophysical, space and attitude to serve properly. You're more, aware. In the mode of ignorance and passion is to just like messed up things. It's a nuisance. And, that's a problem, that's the purification that we have to go through. Krishna, meanwhile, is tolerating ourselves. So it's enough to tolerate our, condition. And then what to speak if we add, by agitating with all these things. That's why it's important. So, anyway. Don't drink coffee. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.